Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. We are here at Oklahoma Memorial Stadium, home of the Oklahoma Sooners, bringing you our 2018 Oklahoma football predictions. And you know, last season for the Sooners, it was a fantastic season, but also ending in devastating fashion, losing in double overtime to Georgia in the college football playoff. But despite all of that, they had a really great season because Bob Stoops retired in the offseason of 2017, towards the beginning of the season in June or July. Lincoln Riley gets promoted from offensive coordinator to head coach and gets them all the way to the college football playoff in his first year. So really, all in all, a great year for the Sooners. But now the biggest question among pretty much the entire nation of Sooner fans is who is going to replace Baker Mayfield at quarterback? And, you know, I think the general consensus among myself and other fans out there is that it's going to be Kyler Murray, who has playing time at Texas A&M and has some solid playing time here at Oklahoma. But Lincoln Riley came out with a couple statements saying that Kyler Murray actually really has to battle for his job. It might not be a sure lock-in for the starting position in week one. He might have to battle Austin Kendall for that quarterback position, or they might play both this season. Who knows? But I think Kyler Murray in the end will be the starter. They have Rodney Anderson, who rushed for over 1,100 yards last season, so a solid running back there. You got Marquise Brown, the leading receiver from the Sooners last year, and C.D. Lamb as well. So solid wide receivers and a solid running back, which is going to be great for breaking in a new quarterback. On the defense, though, they have 6 returning starters there. You've got Parnell Motley and Trey Norwood at cornerback, both very solid playmakers there. And Amani Bledsoe leading on the defensive line. So a very solid Oklahoma defense. And this is a very solid Oklahoma team that, once again, is probably going to be the heavy favorite in the Big 12 and maybe could make a return trip to the Big 12 championship game. They open up the season against Florida Atlantic. And this is a really, really intriguing game and a potential trap game for the Sooners because you've got Lane Kiffin coming in with his Owls team that returns 10 starters on the defensive side of the ball, which is huge because you're going up against an Oklahoma team that's going to have questions at quarterback. If you can shut down the run and force the quarterback to win this game through the air, maybe Florida Atlantic could come in here and pull off the upset against the Sooners. I don't think that's going to happen, but Lane Kiffin will definitely give the Sooners a fight and maybe a potential scare in the season opener. But I think Oklahoma opens up with a victory in week 1. Then UCLA, a great non-conference game, another Power 5 school from the Pac-12 coming out here to Norman, Oklahoma. UCLA, though, yes, they bring in Chip Kelly, so that's a new, solid head coach that's going to get this team back up to Pac-12 dominance like he did at Oregon. But UCLA is going to have a lot of struggle this year, like Oklahoma, breaking in a new quarterback. They return only 5 starters on offense and 7 starters on defense. I think Oklahoma actually takes pretty easy care of the Bruins in this one, and what's going to be a pretty rough year for Chip Kelly in year 1. So another win for Oklahoma over the Bruins. Then at Iowa State, another potential trap game for Oklahoma. If you remember here at Oklahoma Memorial Stadium last year, Iowa State came in and upset Oklahoma. That was one of the biggest upsets of the year. Iowa State, a team that was kind of slept on last year, upset Oklahoma, upset TCU, won their bowl game and finished 8-5. So they, with this game being played at Iowa State, a very, very difficult place to play for any team, especially with it being so early on in the season. Maybe Oklahoma could lose back-to-back games to the Cyclones. I do not think that's going to happen. I think the defense is what's going to be the key for Oklahoma in this game. I think they're going to have to shut down Kyle Kempt and David Montgomery, but I think they will be able to get the job done, and also a little revenge and payback for what happened to them last year at home. So I think they're going to get the win over Iowa State, but it's going to be a close one. Then a win over Army, who I think is going to struggle after losing Ahmad Bradshaw at the quarterback position. 8 returning starters on defense. Shouldn't be a huge issue there. And then they really start getting to the meat of this Big 12 schedule, facing off against Baylor. Last year at Baylor, the Bears gave the Sooners a pretty rough test. They only lost that game by 8 points. But this year, it's back at home. Baylor, yes, returns 17 starters, will be much more improved, but I do not see Baylor coming in to Oklahoma and getting a win over the Sooners because, yes, despite losing Baker Mayfield and some solid playmakers, are still going to be extremely solid, so a win for Oklahoma there as well. And then a huge showdown, first week of October, Red River rivalry against Texas. And this is going to be a huge game, one that could potentially determine who wins the Big 12 or who finishes first in the Big 12 standings. Yes, they have a Big 12 championship game. I'm actually going to predict a loss here for Texas. I know a lot of people can criticize me for that, but this is a Texas team that Tom Herman is really building up. Did a great job in year 1. So a lot of people always say that Texas is too overrated and they always underperform, but that's not going to be the case this year. They have 14 returning starters. You got Shane Buechele or Sam Ehlinger at the quarterback position, a very, very solid defense, a solid running back and receivers. This is a Texas team that I think is Oklahoma's biggest test in the Big 12, and I'm going to give them a loss here in what will be their first meeting in Dallas. So a loss there for Oklahoma. Their first of the season, not that big a deal though. They get a big time bye week, great bye week right in the middle of the season, coming off a loss in preparation for a road game at TCU. This is going to be a very tough game as well. You know, they met TCU twice last year, facing off in the Big 12 championship game as well, but TCU loses some big-time playmakers, namely like Oklahoma, their quarterback in Kenny Hill. I love their running back in Darius Anderson. I love their wide receiver in Kevontae Turpin, but I think they're going to be able to go on the road against a TCU team that does have questions at the offensive line position and at the quarterback position. The defense will be the strength, but I think having a week of rest is going to really benefit Oklahoma here, and I'm going to give them the win over the Horned Frogs. And then they get Kansas State, another team that I think could surprise some people in the Big 12. I love Alex Delton at the quarterback position. I love Alex Barnes at the running back position. And the defense, despite only returning 5 starters, is still going to be extremely solid. The offense returns 8. So this is a Kansas State team that, if they can pull off some upsets, could potentially make a run for the Big 12 championship game. But with it being at home, I think Oklahoma gets the win here. And I think by this point, Oklahoma's offense, especially at the quarterback position, is really going to start gelling. They're going to really have some stuff going for them, and they get a win over the Wildcats. And then at Texas Tech, another team that this is Cliff Kingsbury, could be his last year in Lubbock. He really needs to start winning, and what better way to potentially save his job than getting a huge win over a potentially top 10 team at home in Oklahoma. But Texas Tech, I love their offense. They're always solid under Cliff Kingsbury. Their defense going to be extremely solid with 10 returning starters. So this is a Texas Tech team that I think could get back to a bowl game and potentially save Cliff Kingsbury's job. It is on the road, but I think Oklahoma's going to end up having enough talent on both sides of the ball to get a big-time win on the road, but I do expect it to be a shootout. So I do give them the win here. And then their rivalry game against Oklahoma State. Last year, Oklahoma putting up 785 yards of total offense against the Cowboys. That game being at Oklahoma State, and that was really one that was going to determine who was going to go potentially to the Big 12 championship game, and the Sooners getting the better of the Cowboys. This year, Oklahoma State losing a lot of talent on the offensive side of the ball. Mason Rudolph, James Washington. So I just don't see Oklahoma State defeating the Sooners this year, especially with it being here in Norman. I think the Cowboys get a big-time win over their rival. And like I said, they're only a one-loss team at this point, so they are still in contention, certainly for the Big 12 title and maybe even the college football playoff. Another win over Kansas won't be an issue there because of, I mean, it's Kansas. I mean, this is David Beaty's 4th year there, and he's compiled a 3-33 record. So I just don't see them improving that much. They do return 19 starters. That's going to be huge. They will be a lot more competitive. Oklahoma has taken care of them for about the past decade. Kansas isn't going to beat them, especially here at Norman. And then closing out the year against West Virginia, and I've said repeatedly in tons of my videos that West Virginia is my dark horse team to potentially win the Big 12. I love their quarterback in Will Greer. I think one of the better quarterbacks in the nation. David Sills, Gary Jennings, a solid wide receiving core, and Dana Holgorsen has slowly built up this defense, especially with a bunch of junior college transfers. Now they've returned 5 stars on the defensive side of the ball this year, and I think that Oklahoma in the season finale will actually go on the road and lose to West Virginia. This is a team that I think is extremely dangerous, going to have a very high-octane offense if they can stay healthy. That's going to be the key. Will Greer got hurt towards the end of last season. If he can stay healthy this year, they will be a very, very dangerous team, and I think Oklahoma will go on the road and lose this game. Maybe looking ahead, thinking they've got the Big 12 championship clinched, and that's certainly not going to be the case, but a 10-2 record for the Sooners this season. And really, that's very respectable. But the talent that they lose, especially at the quarterback position, 10-2 record is very respectable. This should be good enough to get them back to the Big 12 championship game. You win that, you've capped off an 11-win season. Maybe you're going to go to a New Year's Six bowl. But this is an Oklahoma team that I think has plenty of talent to potentially get back to the college football playoff. The key is going to be at the quarterback position. Will it be Kyler Murray, or will it be Austin Kendall, or will it be both? We will have a pretty good idea of how that season is going to go and how that position is going to go after that Florida Atlantic game against a very, very stiff Lane Kiffin defense. So I'm very excited to see how the Sooners do this season here at Oklahoma Memorial Stadium. Thank you for watching. Please continue to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you next time on The Gridiron Expert.